Welcome to LoyalTV. Join us in Reno, the place where Al Jennings served as county prosecutor before becoming a notorious outlaw.
Being an attorney back then, it would have been extremely busy right after the land opening. Tons of work for all of them. When you're in the spotlight like Al was in 1892 to 94, it gave him plenty of time to make enemies. Al Jennings loses his position as prosecuting attorney. He moves to Woodward and goes into practice with his brothers Ed and John. And one day they're in court, and it was Ed Jennings who got into an argument with the other attorney, who was Temple Houston, who was the flamboyant youngest son of Texas legend Sam Houston. Temple Houston was known far and wide as just being an incredible attorney. He supposedly said to Ed in open court that didn't know anything about the law. Then Ed yelled at Temple, and they went for their guns. Luckily, bystanders in the courtroom stopped the violence from happening. But later that evening, Temple Houston and a friend of his were at the bar, and John and Ed Jennings walked in, exchanged words, guns were drawn, lead started flying. Al Jennings, he goes farther east into the Creek Nation and gets work as a ranch hand. And it's at this time that he meets two former members of the Doolin Dalton gang. Sometime prior to this, Frank Jennings came down from Denver and got into the outlaw life with Al. Summer of 1897, the Jennings are implicated in a robbery of a post office and a store at Foyle, northeast of Claremore. A couple months later, though, in August, is when the first train robbery happens, and that was 3 miles south of Edmond, and they were unable to blow the safe up. In October, they attempted to rob another train down near Chickasha. Making a big mistake, they rifled through the registered mail sacks and got away with U.S. mail. And a couple weeks later, they robbed a store at Cushing. And then fast forward about a month, in November 30th, 1897, they are surrounded by a federal posse led by Deputy U.S. Marshal Bud Ledbetter. Al Jennings was being held in the penitentiary at Columbus, Ohio. But William Sidney Porter was serving time at that same penitentiary, and William Sidney Porter, in years to come, would start writing under the pen name of O. Henry. And his most famous character was that of the Cisco Kid, which people speculate was based on Al Jennings. So shortly after that, he decided to move to California. In the 1950s, a movie came out called Al Jennings of Oklahoma. It was like a blockbuster movie for that time period. I think you can definitely say that Al Jennings had a whimsical life. He lived his dream. I mean, he lived in Hollywood and got to hobnob with the best of them. He's, even today, laying in the ground. He's buried in the same cemetery as Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, and Bob Crane from Hogan's Heroes. You know, he's still surrounded by these larger-than-life people.
Join us next week as we continue to tell the best Oklahoma stories you've never heard here on LoyalTV.